Globes. A lot of time you are politically incorrect and hilarious, of course.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
So this is,
well,
yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the thing about offence, isn't it? When people say they're offended, it's that just because you're offended, it doesn't mean you're right. You know, it's offence is about feelings, and feelings are personal. Some people are offended by equality. So what? You know, so you can't second guess people. If you try and please everyone, you'll please no one. With comedy as well, I think you've got to deal with taboos and contentious issues, and sometimes you deal in irony, and some people don't get that, but you know, you can't legislate against stupidity, otherwise you'll be doing nothing. So if you're saying anything...
What happens when you put Ricky Gervais in a room with a live microphone, a frail Hollywood ego, and Whoopi Goldberg with a thesaurus full of woke buzzwords? It's a savage train wreck that makes a kindergarten pillow fight look like a diplomatic summit. And we promise you'll want to watch every awkward coffee sip and cringe-worthy moment that ensues. So buckle up, because this isn't just a takedown, but a televised demolition of woke nonsense with Ricky Gervais holding the detonator and laughing through the explosion. Curious how it all happened? Oh, it gets funnier and worse.
Another theme of the show has been words change and I'm woke, haha. But here's the irony. I think I am woke, but I think that word has changed. I think if woke still means what it used to mean, that you're aware of your own privilege, you try and maximise equality, minimise oppression, be anti-racist, anti-sexist, anti-homophobic, yes, I'm definitely woke. If woke now means being a puritanical, authoritarian bully who gets people fired for an honest opinion or even a fact, then no, I'm not woke. F*** that.
You must realize that Ricky Gervais is not your typical comedian, and that he is not here for your hugs, hashtags, or humanitarian awards if you want to really appreciate the lyrical catastrophe that transpired. Ricky doesn't punch up or punch down. Instead, he punches reality in the face, offers you the microphone, and challenges you to laugh. This man created his career by stating the things that everyone is thinking, but is too scared to speak because they don't want to get kicked out of the brunch group.
I am woke now, and I can prove it. Here you go. I love illegal immigrants. Yeah, sue me now. Sometimes I go down to Dover for the day, right? And I look out, right, and look for a boat, and I see a dinghy with about 60 of them, and I go over here, like, right? And I pull them into shore, and I go, women and children first. They go, there are no women and children. Just you lads, is it? Just come on, lads. Come on, lads. I go down there one day and there's no boat, I am absolutely fine.
The same man who, as if harboring resentment on behalf of all unpaid interns in Los Angeles, stood at the Golden Globes and lambasted the whole A-list elite actors from Amazon posing as campaigners, were offered a silver platter of unfiltered mockery. If you present yourself with a straight face and virtue-signaling scripts, Ricky arrives with a beer and a verbal sledgehammer, followed by Whoopi Goldberg. Hollywood royalty, who is now a debate referee during the day, sits atop her throne and expresses her ideas like wisdom-flavored fortune cookies.
I don't think that you lose your sensuality or your beauty because you hit 53. I'm saying, why are they hiding it?
Oh, I see. Do you think that when you have to explain the joke that maybe it wasn't told, that because people didn't get it, or you think?
I'm defending my motives, not the joke. I stand by the joke. Yeah. I don't think I have anything to apologise for, but that's not the joke. I think if you're going to criticise, you've got to understand the joke before you can.
Okay.
Whether it's defending cancel culture as accountability or lecturing on what people should be allowed to joke about, she's been hitting the woke talking points lately. At one point, she turned her panel seat into a TED Talk on moral superiority, with commercial breaks. Whoopi and Company's now famous suggestion that comedians should adjust to today's culture and perhaps make comedy more about feelings rather than laughter was one of the moments that ignited the internet. They said that a joke is only funny if it passes the holy trial of social sensitivity.
It's such a privilege, and freedom of speech is so important these days. And you've got to, I've reached the age now where I don't care anymore. You know what I mean? It's like, what's the worst that can happen? I'm going to die soon. Yeah. So I'm offended. I'm going to die. So what? So...
You made enough money at this point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
you know, I'm going to give that to animals anyway, just to see the
Are you?
look on my
Oh, yeah,
stupid
man.
family's face. It's all to animals.
The comedy gods began honing their craft at that point. So what happens when you combine a live mic by Ricky Gervais and a hypocritical Hollywood story of complete destruction? You can be sure that if you give a blowtorch to a man who has spent 20 years watching everyone around him walk on eggshells and tell him not to play with fire, he will point it directly at the pile of virtual signaling kindling and light everything up while smiling as if he had just created sarcasm before. Anyone could fiddle with their pearls or adjust their earpieces. Ricky dropped his first bomb, not a physical one, though that could have been kinder, but a verbal blow so vicious that it likely led to the immediate resignation of 3 studio lights. It wasn't merely a takedown, it was a humorous exorcism. She tried to maintain her composure, and you could almost see her soul buffering as Ricky sliced up every last bit of fake outrage and performative empathy with surgical precision and the subtlety of a sledgehammer at a tea party. Woke culture was dragged out into the sunlight and turned to ash faster than a vampire in a tanning bed. Oh, the poor throng. The mob. Half of them stared into space, frantically looking for a diversity consultant or a safe word, while the other half weren't sure whether to laugh or write an apology tweet.
Nice to look back and it's a celebration. I talk about my mum and dad and who aren't with us anymore, and jokes about the mum and mum's funeral, you know, because that's what I think that's what humour's for. It gets us over bad stuff. So it's a sin to joke about all the bad things. That's a waste, because that's exactly what we should joke.
Ricky unbothered the man who managed to roast Santa Claus on Christmas Eve and still receive a standing ovation from the elves and a mic drop. He didn't just poke the bear, he roasted it, served it medium rare, and made Whoopi ask for seconds. Every statement in Barb was dipped in venom, aged in irony, and delivered with that unbothered deadpan that says, "I already cashed the check, fire me, I dare you." One intern reportedly attempted to hide under a decorative plant, but we're still monitoring the CCTV. To be clear, this was a one-man show with punchlines that came faster than corporate apologies following a reaction on Twitter. It wasn't a debate or even an argument. Ricky's objective was not Whoopi specifically. Rather, it was the entire self-righteous circus, the kind that kills cartoons, gives names to coffee cups, and posts lengthy Instagram captions about their sentiments, about being gluten-free.
Arrogant are you to think that you deserve to go through life with no one ever saying anything that you don't agree with or like. I want people to stop saying that joke's offensive. I want them to start saying I found it offensive. Because that's all it is. You're just telling me how you feel about it. There's nothing intrinsically offensive about this joke. You don't have to pave the jungle. You can just grow up there and have a laugh about it. But you shouldn't hurt people's feelings. Well, you can if their feelings are wrong. You know, if you don't like the facts, don't change the facts, change the feelings.
He attacked the gospel of sensitivity as though it owed him money. And in all honesty, it did, since somewhere along the line, a mob using hashtags and a pitchfork made of recycled tweets kidnapped humor, and Ricky wasn't paying the ransom by the time he finished his second monologue. Yes, there was a lot of tension in the room, and it could have sliced tofu. The co-hosts' reactions ranged from, "Please let this be a simulation," to, "Did he just say that?" In an attempt to recover, Whoopi, who was still blinking in Morse code, gave the patronizing grin that toddlers and climate change doubters usually wear. Bless her soul, she tried to clap back. But attempting to outsmart Ricky Gervais on live TV is like trying to box with fog. You just end up fatigued, bewildered, and drenched. As Ricky leaned back with his hands folded, presumably imagining what color his next cancellation letter might be, perhaps a lovely pastel, her rebuttals struck with all the force of a warm salad. Let's also talk about the fallout, because when Ricky Gervais takes the stage, the explosion doesn't stop when he leaves. It reverberates across social media like a fire alarm in a library full of easily offended cats.
Many talented people of colour were snubbed in major categories. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about that. The Hollywood foreign press are all very, very racist. So, 5th time. So, we were going to do an in memoriam this year, but when I saw the list of people that had died, it wasn't diverse enough. No. It was mostly white people. And I thought, nah, not on my watch. So.
Twitter erupted like a failed gender reveal party. Meanwhile, Ricky was gaining popularity in 42 countries while presumably drinking tea and petting his rescue cat, Irony. The funniest part was that he didn't even offer an apology. Not even the sanitized kind of performative PR where they say, if anyone was offended, followed by 600 words of carefully worded fluff. Nope, Ricky doubled down, tripled, and somewhere a publicist sobbed into a gluten-free muffin. He made it clear that if your belief system can't withstand a joke, it may not be a belief system, but rather a subscription service with poor customer service. And when Ricky put the notion that the truth must now be certified by a diversity committee before it is spoken into a metaphorical shredder and danced on the confetti, Whoopi's followers hurried to defend her with their best punches, accusing him of being cruel. Indeed, nothing conveys intellectual superiority like getting genuinely outraged by a man cracking jokes while sporting sneakers. This is why comedy is dead. The transformation of a tolerant crowd into a mob brandishing torches is always fascinating. They screamed like vampires at a Sephora store the moment someone pointed out that their emperor was doing cartwheels with clown shoes, and Ricky just held up the mirror.
That tweet sums comedy up, doesn't it? How subjective it is. How one person, some people can find them hilarious, some people find them the least funny person in the world. And when someone says to me about another comedian, they say, oh, they're not funny. Even if I agree with them, I stand up and I say, well, you can't say that. You've got to say, you don't find them funny, you know. And I hate it when people say, that joke was offensive. I say, no, you've got to say, you found it offensive. Because it's all about feelings, and feelings are personal. And there's loads of types of comedy, and comedy evolves, you know. There's a new type of comedy at the moment called woke comedy, right? No, it's very progressive, you know. There are some clubs now where the comedian has to sign a thing saying he won't say anything contentious or he won't say anything that could offend anyone. It's a safe space for the audience. Woke comedy. And I tried to watch a bit of it, and I decided I'd rather watch Louis C.K. masturbate.
But here's the twist. Even his detractors secretly laughed, but they would never own it. Of course, doing so would put him in danger of being banished from the Church of Perpetual Outrage. But the truth? Since the woke empire is based on delicate, fragile eggshells that break at the slightest hint of sarcasm, Ricky says what he wants to say without worrying about being rejected or excluded from brunch. He's stomping through it in size 12 sarcasm boots while playing the Office theme song. Let's talk about strategy. Most comedians nowadays play it safe. Their sets are so clean that they could be shown in a kindergarten. But Ricky doesn't read the room. Instead, he burns it and roasts marshmallows with the ashes. There are no trigger warnings or tiptoeing. There are no motivational speeches interspersed with the punchline, just unadulterated British cruelty, tinged with smugness and, of course, sarcasm. The same people who admired Ricky for speaking up against the establishment now grabbed their pearls when that truth didn't have a progressive label. They loved him when he made fun of millionaires at the Golden Globes, but then pointed the finger at their revered cows. But now it's considered sacrilege.
Remember those jokes you used to have when we were kids, like doctor jokes, like, doctor, I keep thinking I'm a pair of curtains. Well, pull yourself together then, right? I've done a woke version of that, brought it up to today's standards, right? So, bloke goes to the doctor. He goes, Doctor, I keep thinking I'm a pair of curtains. And the doctor goes, well, you are then.
Let's not act as though Whoopi Goldberg is some shrinking violet. She's been serving it for decades. But the moment someone serves her something spicier than she can take, things go south and Ricky becomes a threat to society, as if sarcasm now counts as domestic terrorism. And let's not forget the post-show analysis. Overnight, whole YouTube channels appeared, analyzing every word as if it were the Zapruder movie. Panels of experts, the majority of whom haven't been humorous since dial-up internet, sat around ringing, their hands about responsible comedy. Imagine trying to assign moral alignment to punchlines. What's next? Sentencing knock-knock jokes in The Hague. And just when you thought the fire was extinguished, Ricky added one last log, soaked in gasoline and drenched in sarcasm. Because Jerry didn't just roast Whoopi, he deep-fried woke culture in front of millions and served it back with British seasoning, salted, battered, and wrapped in the newspaper of brutal honesty. Somewhere, a vegan activist fainted, and you could almost hear the collective gasp of 1,000 think pieces forming in real time. A Harvard sociology professor reportedly choked on his gluten-free granola mid-roll. Meanwhile, Ricky just sat back with a smug grin and let the chaos marinate like a steak in satire sauce. But here's the real kicker: people liked it. We're talking full-blown, deep-bellied, red-faced eye-watering laughter from every corner of the internet that's sick of stepping on conversational landmines. Because nothing, and I mean nothing, feels better than watching someone nuke the rulebook and walk away, humming the tune of common sense. And now the question falls squarely in your lap, dear viewer. What do you think? Did Ricky go too far? Or did he not go far enough? Is it time we put the brakes on this hypersensitive comedy? Hating culture, and remember how to take a joke again? Or should we all sit quietly in the corner, afraid to say hello in case it's deemed verbal colonization? Let it rip in the comments like Ricky rips into hypocrisy. Was Whoopi unfairly targeted? Or did she walk into a buzzsaw wearing a roast me sign? Was it comedy, cruelty, or a plot twist? Was it the most honest moment daytime TV has seen since someone accidentally read the cue card upside down? Either way, grab your popcorn, because if this is what happens when Ricky Gervais walks into a room with a mic, imagine what happens when he gets bored and logs onto Twitter. Meanwhile, Whoopi continues her usual routine, delivering sage wisdom between commercial breaks, occasionally scolding the nation like a disappointed aunt at Thanksgiving, and that's fine. Every empire needs its monarch, but if you're going to wear the crown, don't cry when the jester turns out to be smarter than the king. So, what did we learn? That comedy is supposed to offend, that laughter is the last honest reaction we have, and that sometimes the best way to fight absurdity is with more absurdity, delivered, of course, by a sarcastic Brit who couldn't care. Less about your hashtags. As the smoke clears and the social media storms rage on, one thing's certain: Ricky Gervais didn't just roast Whoopi or woke culture,